What's up, guys? Asher back with another episode of the MMA Brothers podcast, and I'm here with Gabe. Gabe, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. How are you?
Good. Derek couldn't make it today, but Gabe's always there whenever we need him. He's a special guest. He's a broadcast partner on MMA Brothers Pod. So, um, today we're going to be talking the fight that should have been Dern versus Marvin Vettori, but Kevin Holland stepping in on short notice, even though people were hating on him on his last performance against Derek Brunson. But today we're going to be hitting you with a preview of the main card. So we're going to be starting at the bottom of the main card with Mike Perry versus Daniel Rodriguez. So I have seen Daniel Rodriguez fight before. This guy is a savage. He's not somebody that you can take easily. As you can see from the stats, Rodriguez is going to be 3 inches taller. This fight's going to be at 170, and Rodriguez is also going to have the height and reach advantage. So he has a 3-inch reach advantage. Sorry. Both these fighters have good KO power. Mike Perry has a KO percentage of 79% compared to the 54% of Daniel Rodriguez. And, Mike Perry can take a shot. Like he's an entertaining fighter. He doesn't have like the best skills, but his boxing skills are pretty good. And I honestly think this is a fight where somebody's going to be going to sleep. I just don't think this fight's going to be one and done within 3 rounds. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree too. These guys are both finishers. Before Rodriguez's last fight, he lost a decision to Nicholas Dalby, right? But before that, he had a KO win, he had a decision win, he had a submission win. Mike Perry too, right? This guy brawls. He's got an impeccable chin. That's the main issue that I have with him is he takes a lot of damage, and I think a lot of that damage could be avoidable, like especially in his last fight. He didn't need to take that much damage. I mean, it was entertaining, obviously, right? But I think he could have avoided a lot of that damage. So, I think this one's going to come down to who takes less damage because one of these guys is going to sleep. So they're going to be swinging, and whoever can defend themselves better is going to come out the winner.
Exactly. So who are you going to be picking for this one, though?
I'm going to go with Mike Perry. I'm going to go with Mike. I think he's made some adjustments. He's at a new MMA gym now. They're called MMA Legends or something like that. He just had a son a couple months ago, so a little bit more motivation with a new child. I love Platinum Mike Perry. The guy's entertaining, so I'm gonna go with him.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Mike Perry too, because I just think in terms of competition, Mike Perry has fought like higher caliber opponents compared to Daniel Rodriguez. So Mike Perry should be able to get this win. But I guess we'll wait and see. Anyways, moving on to the next one, we got Nina Ansarov versus Mackenzie Dern. So, what's her name? The champ, Amanda Nunes' wife. I can't believe I forgot Amanda Nunes' name. Amanda Nunes' wife. I could see her face, but I'm like, why can I not remember? You see, this is what happens when like you take 1 week off of UFC, right? Because there were no fights last weekend. And I'm like, bro, how am I forgetting Amanda Nunes' name? And I'm like, what's her name again? So Amanda Nunes is facing the cute Mackenzie Dern. I think she's cute or whatever, pretty, whatever you want to call her, beautiful.
She's killer.
Yeah, she's pretty and she's a killer. So Mackenzie Dern is ranked number 11, fighting Nina Ansarov at number 5. So this fight's going to be at strawweight. Nina Ansarov is 5'5", Mackenzie Dern's 5'4", and the reach advantage is going to be in Nina Ansarov's corner with 1 inch. Now, how do they get it done? Mackenzie Dern has no KOs in her record, just submissions and decisions, and Nina Ansarov can, get some TKO victories. So you would think Nina Ansarov, being married to Amanda Nunes, training with Amanda Nunes, that she should be this killer in the UFC as well, because iron sharpens iron, right? But it's not necessarily the case. At 115, Weili Zhang's a champ, and I don't see somebody like Nina Ansarov beating Weili. In this fight, Mackenzie Dern, she's on a roll lately. She's been winning her last few fights, and her boxing has gotten a lot better. Right? Yeah. She doesn't have to rely on her jiu-jitsu game. Like, she doesn't have to take you down to submit you. She can stand for 3 rounds and hang in there. So, and she's really aggressive as well. In this fight, I think I'm going to be picking Mackenzie Dern to win it, because I think at some point in time, Mackenzie is going to be able to get a takedown and then take Nina Ansarov, and put her in a guard or whatever, half guard or something, and then get a submission one way or another. And I'm going to be picking Dern. How about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Mackenzie too. She's young, she's on a tear right now, and most importantly, she's been active. You know, Nina and Amanda had their baby a couple months ago, right? So obviously she had to take time away to be a mom. But yeah, activity is a huge, as we've seen in past cards. You know, throughout the history of the sport, activity is huge. Nina has beaten some, high level opponents like Angela Hill, Claudia Gadella. I think they've both beaten Miranda Marcos, a fellow Canadian. But yeah, I think Mackenzie's going to get it done simply because she's on a roll right now. She's active. And yeah, like you said, her boxing, her striking has improved a lot. That last fight, that was so awesome to watch. Like her, sorry, it's the motorcycle outside.
No worries. I didn't even hear it.
Oh, really? Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she's evolving her game every fight, and I think she's gonna get it done. Maybe we'll see a KO finish.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I hope so because I hope this fight ends in a finish one way, shape, or form because I'm not the biggest fan of decisions. But we can move on. I'll let you break down the Sam Alvey versus Julian Marquez fight.
Awesome. All right, so we got Smiling Sam Alvey and the Cuban Missile Crisis. I love that name, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Julian Marquez, that's an awesome name. Did you hear about the
I
thing
love
with
that name.
Cyrus? He wanted
Of course, bro.
You heard about that? I love this guy. He's awesome. Anyway, so Sam Alvey, 33-14-1 and one no contest. Marquez 8-2, both American, both 6'2". They fight at middleweight. Alvey has the slight reach advantage at about, what is that, 3.5 inches. And then yeah, let's just see how they get it done. So Alvey has a 58% KO rate to Marquez is 75. 9% submission rate for Alvey to Marquez is 25, and 33% decision finish to Marquez is 0%. Yeah, I've seen both these guys fight lately. I like Alvey. He's a very interesting guy. Like, this guy's always smiling. It's kind of creepy, and I think it kind of gets into guys' heads. Like, you'll see him at weigh-ins, and he's just smiling, and then in the cage he's smiling. And like the last couple of his fights, I don't know if it was the last one. It was earlier last year, like in the spring, when they just kind of opened up cards again. And he was like losing this fight, and like out of nowhere, he just came and started piecing this guy. It's like, how did you just get a second win from like nothing? He came back and he won the fight. Yeah, this one's tough. I think I'm gonna go with Marquez though. I don't know. I just like it. I just like his finishes from what I've seen lately. But never count Sam Alvey out. That guy's sneaky.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. He's definitely a sneaky fighter, but Marquez, he just comes with that power. And the thing is, he actually has shown to have some cardio because in his last fight, he was losing the first 2 rounds, and then he came back and got a stoppage win in the third, right? So, Marquez, he's somebody that I think will be able to get this done, especially at that KO percentage. I think Sam Alvey does have a good chin. He is durable, but I don't know. He's got that Miley hype, that Miley Cyrus hype going for him right now. So hopefully he can get it done. And I made an Instagram post about it saying like, who's Marcus gonna ask out on a date next if he gets a win this weekend. So
hey, man,
I really hope he makes it a thing. I think that would be really cool. Like, people would be like wanting to watch his fights for the post fight, being like, yo, who's he gonna ask out next? You know, you should just like make that a thing of his. It'll be funny. But yeah, we both got Marquez, so
good stuff.
All right, moving on to the next one. We got Arnold Allen versus Sadiq Yusuff. So Super Sadiq versus Almighty Allen. Almighty Allen 16-1, and Sadiq is 11-1. Sadiq's from Nigeria. Arnold Allen's from the UK. Sadiq is just an inch taller. This fight's going to be at flyweight, and Sadiq also has a 1 inch reach advantage. These are 2 fighters that are actually been hyped for a while in the UFC. Arnold Allen has been somebody that I think, does he train out of TriStar? If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember. But like
with what's his name, Sage Northcutt?
Yeah, I think so. But like, I'm not quite sure where he's training out of, but I think it's TriStar in Montreal. But Regardless, Arnold Allen is somebody that has been hyped to say like, hey, this kid's the future. He has a lot of potential to become a champ in the UFC, but so has Sadiq, right?
Yeah.
Sadiq Yusuff has been somebody that's also been given a lot of hype, and a lot of people think that he's the future. Sadiq, I don't know if he was born in Africa. He might have been, because it says Nigeria, but I think he does represent America too. But regardless, if he is African born, if he is, if the hype is real, then he might become the fourth African born champion in the UFC. Who
Very
knows?
cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
be very, very cool. But who knows? This guy definitely is super Sadiq Yusuff. He's a very, very explosive athlete, and Arnold Allen is a very, very tough guy too. So if you can see KO percentages, is obviously in Sadiq's favor at 55% compared to 31 for Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen has a better submission game, but I do think Sadiq Yusuff has a good takedown game too. So I guess he's just more of a ground and pound instead of a submission guy. So who do I think is going to win this fight? I've seen more of Yusuff versus Allen, but I honestly think this might be like a really, really good fight. And I don't think anybody's going to get stopped. It might be a 3-round fight, but I'm going to be picking Yusuff to win this one. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's going to go to the distance too. I think it'll be a full 3-round fight. I think I'm going to take Yusuff too. Like you said, I've seen him fight more. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because these guys are both young up and comers, and they're kind of on a roll right now. They've had some impressive finishes. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great test. I mean, you got Allen at number 10 and Yusuff at number 11, right? So these guys are neck and neck. They're in very similar positions. And like as we've seen, in this past year, you're always one fight away, right? You could be one fight away from fighting anyone. Like look at Bilal Muhammad, right? I mean, that whole fight with Edwards, I mean, it didn't end great, but I wouldn't have, picked. I mean, stuff happened with Hamzat, right? And he had to drop out, but you're always one fight away from, possibly a title shot or, a number 1, number 3, whatever contender spot, as we saw there. So yeah, anything could happen.
Yeah, 100%. So we both got Yusuff in that one.
Yeah.
Moving on to the main event of the evening, we got Marvin Vettori versus Kevin Holland, the Trailblazer versus the Italian Dream. So Marvin Vettori 16-4 and Kevin Holland 21-6. So Vettori is coming off of his win against Jack Hermanson. Kevin Holland's coming off of his loss against Derek Brunson. Kevin Holland will have the 3-inch height advantage, and he'll also have a 7-inch reach advantage. So if you scroll down, see how these fighters get it done. Kevin Holland has a lot of KOs on his record. 52% of his wins are by KO, 29% by submission, 19% by decision. Marvin Vettori, even though he isn't an animal, he doesn't have a lot of KOs on his record. He does have a lot of submissions, though. He has a good submission game. 31% of his wins are by decision. Now, in terms of how these fighters fight, Kevin Holland, I was extremely disappointed in his last performance against Derek Brunson. He was doing more talking than fighting, which is actually true, which was very, very disappointing to see. I don't know if it's because his takedown defense isn't that great, so he kind of tried to talk himself like, I know I'm doing well, and even when he was getting ground and pounded, he was talking instead of doing more fighting and stuff. He did have a couple opportunities where like he tried to land something, but like. And then one thing that made me mad too is when he got up, there's like 10-15 seconds left in the round. He didn't even like pursue him. Like he was acting all cool and stuff, being like, yeah, whatever and stuff. When, you know what I mean? Other fighters knowing that they're 4 or 5 rounds down, they should have like gone and tried to get the finish, right? But that didn't happen. Anyways, Marvin Vettori looked excellent against Jack Hermanson. Jack Hermanson is no one to play with. A lot of people thought he was also a future prospect in the 185 division. In this fight, I'm going to be going with Marvin Vettori just based off of what I've seen lately. And, Marvin Vettori is the only one to take Adesanya to split decision, right, in the middleweight division. So Marvin Vettori is a bad boy. I'm going to be picking Marvin to win this one. What about you, Gabe?
Yeah, man, it's a tough decision because right now I'm pitted between, mind over heart. In my heart, I want Holland to win. I just love the guy's energy. In the last fight, yeah, I definitely agree with you. Talked a little too much. Didn't really, he was saying, oh, well, Derek sat on me for, 3 rounds or whatever. And okay, but I felt like his grappling approach was more to just trying to get up instead of actually, maybe mix in a grappling exchange. He was more focused on just, standing up and getting back to striking, which he's great at. But that's not going to work against Marvin Vettori. As you see here, 56% submission finish rate. This guy's no joke on the ground or standing up. We saw that in the Jack Hermanson fight. Hermanson kept fighting, props to him, but Vettori was piecing him up for a lot of the fight. So if Vettori can carry that striking over into this fight, I think Vettori's just more well-rounded. I'm not a huge Marvin Vettori fan. He's a great fighter. I respect him as a fighter. But energy-wise, he's kind of, I don't know, the stuff he was saying about Darren Till, I kind of found that I was like, all right, man, like, you don't really know what's going on with him. Like, he broke his collarbone, and then Vettori was trying to say, like, oh, he's faking it and whatever. And it's like, okay, just let him be, let him do his thing. But yeah, I got Marvin, but I really want Kevin because, like, I love his energy and I like him as a character. And like Kevin was saying today in one of the interviews, like, he's like, people, they get mad at me when I talk too much and they get mad at me if I don't talk enough. And he's like, it's a business, right? Like, people pay to see, Kevin Trailblazer Holland come out and do his thing and, talk a lot of crap because it sells, right? So, yeah, I think Marvin's going to win, but I'm really rooting for Kevin.
Yeah, I want to see Kevin win too. I think he's an exciting prospect. He's talking about facing Adesanya in the future. Like, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but like, if he wins, if he beats Marvin Vettori, what's Marvin Vettori ranked? If you don't mind scrolling up, he's ranked,
I believe, number 6.
Yeah, he's ranked. Yeah, number 6. This is an excellent opportunity because Derek Brunson, I think, was ranked number 7, or I can't remember what his ranking was before.
Yep.
But regardless, he took a loss 3 weeks ago, and he's getting an opportunity to redeem himself, right? Because he talked about maybe going to 170 because he's like, I don't know if I can get it done against some of these bigger middleweights. He talked about weighing 193, so like he only has to cut like 7, 8 pounds before. Somebody said we all want to see Kevin win. I agree with you, Ness. I want to see Kevin win too. It's tough. I want to see Kevin win. Like I said, he only had to cut like 7 or 8 pounds to make 185. Maybe he's too thin, not strong enough for the division. But Marvin Vettori is an animal. And if Kevin Holland can beat Marvin Vettori, then he'll be looking at the top 5 of the middleweight division.
Yeah.
Those are the Whitakers, the Costas, the Adesanyas, the Gaslams, the Darren Tills. All those people will be he'll be looking ahead to those people if he's able to beat Marvin Vettori here. And he didn't really get a training camp in, so I don't know how he's going to do in terms of 5 rounds action. But if he's able to get it done, then that would be pretty dope. Yeah. Any last words?
No, I think it's going to be a great card. It's another one of those underrated cards, some of the, as we say in the MMA business, the casual fans, right? I've seen a lot of chatter online, people going, oh, this is a crappy card. This card is far from crappy. This, prelims, you got Jim Miller fighting in the featured prelim, UFC veteran, and then the whole main card, you got Nina Ansarov back. You got this awesome main event. It's going to be a great card. So I think fans are going to be in for a treat.
100%. Sorry, one last thing. I got one more comment. So here it said the problem is the welterweight elite is grappler heavy too, which would be tough for Kevin too. Love to see him go down to AKA and train his grappling. 100% agree, man. That's the thing, man. There's no easy divisions in the UFC, right? Whether you're in the middleweight division or the welterweight division. Think about Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman was a guy that was just known to be super grappling heavy, and it got him all the way to a title shot. Now he's putting his jab together. He's putting his stand-up together. He's looking like, almost like an unbeatable animal. And quick side note, I'm really upset that they gave Jorge another opportunity. I don't know how you feel about this.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I was like, it's funny too because Usman was out here saying like, oh, what's crazy is that like I want Colby to get a couple more wins before he fights me again. It's like, dude, Jorge, you just beat Jorge. Jorge didn't fight anybody else in the meantime, right? You had a way more competitive fight with Colby, but you're out here wanting to fight Jorge again. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I agree, man. That's how I feel too. I thought after you saw Colby just, wipe Woodley off the face of the earth, right? I was like, okay, well, that was his first win after the loss to Usman. And, he bounced back right away. And then, yeah, like you said, Jorge fought I mean, once again, I know like people keep bringing it up. It's like, okay, he took it on 7 days notice. Great. But like, regardless of that, like you accepted to take the fight. If you're taking it on 7 days notice, like you can't say those excuses. And like, I get it. Like it is, definitely like if you would have won, it would have been like a big thing, talked about like, oh, so he took this fight on 7 days notice and he beat the champ, kind of question Usman, but you took the fight, you lost. And then you get a rematch right away. Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense to me. I was really confused about that because like Colby and Usman is the fight. Like that's like honestly like Colby and Kamaru. That's like Connor and Habib. Like the spectacle, right? Like the kind of like how much hype it gets. Yeah, I found that fight even more entertaining than that other fight. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
100%. So one more comment is he said it's purely for the money, which I can never hold a fighter against for trying to get the biggest purse. 100%, man.
Yeah.
One last thing, Jones versus Ngannou. What's happening there, man? Where are you on Jones' side? Are you on Dana's side about this thing? Like this craziness that's going on?
I've talked about it on the podcast before. You guys know that I'm not a huge Jon Jones fan.
Yeah.
I respect him, I like what he's accomplished in the sport. But on this, I would say I have to agree. With like I watched an interview with him and Steve-O about they were talking about fighter pay, right? And the UFC pays out 18% of all their revenue to their fighters. Like the fighters only make 18%. They like any merchandise you get, like you could like say you get like a Kevin Holland shirt, right? He doesn't get like commission on that. He gets like a couple checks a year as like a thank you pretty much, right? So
Right.
and that's like with all these fighters. So I can agree with Jon Jones on that. I think the UFC has to do a better job of paying their fighters, but the reason why Dana doesn't is because he's monopolized the game. I mean, you got Bellator, you got one championship, you got these other, promotions, but UFC is still the premier promotion. Like everyone tunes in to watch, the fighters in the UFC. So when you have a monopoly on the game like that, you can kind of do whatever you want. And I'm not saying it's good, but that's kind of where it's at. So I think they should be paid more. I mean, John can say whatever, like he's like money wise. I think him, like all the top fighters in the UFC, I think they get compensated very well. All of the top fighters, the lower level fighters, it's more of a pay issue for them. But when you're Jon Jones, you got other sponsorships outside the UFC. His purse to show up is, I think it's like $500,000. I mean, people want to argue about, what's a lot and what's not a lot, but I don't know. Maybe he's scared of Ngannou. I'd be scared of Francis. After that knockout, man, like, geez, man, I'd look for any reason to not fight him.
No, I agree. The thing is, for me, in terms of, it's interesting because I think John does deserve money, but at the same time, this thing about like people sign contracts, right? You sign a contract for a certain amount of fights and probably states in there what your base pay is. And I understand that you can probably negotiate more for another fight or whatever and stuff like that. But the outrageous things, the numbers John's throwing out, like, I don't know if he said 50 million. I saw that somewhere, but he's like 8 to 10 million is not enough. It's like, dude, like McGregor gets like a base of what, 3 million or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like, I know like he has crazy pay-per-views. Like if you literally ask for the same base, not even, that's still too much to ask for, actually. If you ask for maybe like half of what McGregor is getting to show up, and then like the pay-per-view points, to me, that's more than enough, because John has never broken 1 million pay-per-view buys. It's never happened, right? And yes, maybe his fight against Ngannou will do that, probably will, but you can't be asking for outrageous money. I just don't understand where that's coming from. In terms of the UFC and Dana paying fighters, I want to see fighters get paid more, but at the same time, I also understand where he's coming from. A lot of people put the blame on UFC, saying that UFC needs to pay fighters more. This is a little controversial thing to say, but the UFC does pay fighters more compared to other promotions. I don't think the UFC is paying their fighters less compared to Bellator or ONE FC in terms of, if you were to look at the average fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't think you would say like, oh, the UFC is paying me less if you're like, let's just say you're an up-and-coming fighter in the UFC, and maybe Bellator would probably pay you more on ONE FC. I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the case. Maybe with sponsorships and all that other stuff, you will make more money fighting.
That's
but
what I was,
with the additional incentives, you might make more. But then that's something that you have to do on your end, not the UFC's end, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I will say
but
though.
yeah,
Yeah. Sorry.
one last thing, and then
Yeah.
in terms of the growth of the company, every single year they say the UFC is growing, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing. I believe that the salaries should grow with the company, right?
Yeah.
So the
Totally.
more money the company is making, then the more fight money. Or if it's the same percent, 21% of the money is going to the fighters, then yes, that 21% should also increase based on the number of fighters they have on their roster. That
I
only makes
agree.
sense to me. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. No, it's kind of like the price of living and minimum or like and like wages, right? Like as the
Mm,
cost of living goes up, wages go up, right? That's just kind of
mhm.
naturally how it works. Like if you're, like all these fighters, their company, like they work for the UFC, right? So, without fighters, you don't have the UFC. So, compensate your fighters fairly. Yeah, I forgot. I was gonna say something else, but yeah, I agree with you on that. Like as the UFC becomes more and more becomes a more and more dominant, sports promotion, right? Like look at how it's transformed over 20 plus years, right? Like where it started and where it is now. There's thousands, millions of people that weren't watching it, even just 3 years ago and are watching it now, right? So I totally agree. As it gets more popular and more revenue comes in, it only makes more sense to pay them more. So yeah,
100%. I'm
yeah.
curious to see how these new Venom kits are going to look this Saturday because that's the new edition.
I
So
love them. I love Venom, man. I'm a huge fan.
yeah,
Yeah.
Venom's good. It's just that I feel like there's not much of a difference between like the kits. They look very similar to me.
Yeah, they kind of are.
Mm.
There's just a couple extra lines and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But now Venom, they're definitely the more appropriate MMA apparel compared to
Sure.
Reebok. So
Yeah.
anyways, we're gonna wrap it up right now. Thank you, Ness, for chatting with us. Thank you guys for listening. We're gonna hit you with the post fight after this. The time for this card is a little bit different. I do think it's like 5 p.m. Eastern time. It starts. I think the reason why they did that is because they tried to get the UK people to watch it. Because Darren Till is fighting,
Yeah.
so they wanted to get their viewership up, right? And yeah, I guess that failed because Darren Till's not fighting anymore. So
They jinxed it.
they jinxed it, yeah. Because I was looking at the time, like, why is it starting at that time? But I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's because of Darren Till UK. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that didn't work out. Regardless, thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you in the next one. See ya.